There's a fantastic world out there to explore, but we're staying indoors for once to talk about the magical room that knows what you need. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and today we're sharing our tips for your room of requirement to save you some time and coin. There are few games that tackle the player housing concept, and of those that try, few succeed. You may have heard me say in previous videos that the room of requirement was never something I anticipated spending much time on. It just didn't interest me. But as I went hands-on with the system, that's a sentiment I abandoned quickly. I unlocked a whole interior designer within me I didn't know was there, albeit not a great one. I began experimenting with wall decorations, finding the perfect chair and lamp placement, honing my potion brewing skills, and discovering my long-lost love of Herbology. It's one of my favorite player housing experiences in a game to date, and that's saying something. This video isn't just going to focus on mere aesthetics. We need to talk about gameplay functionality and what to do with the room once you unlock it that affects your progression. Hanging pictures and placing statues is fun and all, but it doesn't affect what's going on outside the room, and that's what I ultimately care about. That being said, we want to make sure you learn from our mistakes, and that is why we're here today. You'll kick off with a super friendly tutorial that introduces you to the room of requirement, the various ways to customize it, your desk of description, and your basic functionality of two different stations revolving around potions and herbology. Now, we're only given one cauldron potion station and a simple potting station that can accommodate one small potted plant. Fortunately, there aren't really limitations on potion stations outside of the number of potions you can brew at any one station, 1, 2, or 3. What is most important throughout your journey are the materials needed to brew those potions. If you spend any time in the open world, you'll notice plenty of gatherables on the ground and a slew of incoming materials from enemies. Well, your room of requirement is where those get used. Potions require either 2 or 3 ingredients at various quantities, but most potions require a mix between an herb that you grow and an item from an enemy, be it mongrel fur or perhaps a troll booger. We can't preach this enough. Any gatherable or enemy you come across is an opportunity to stock up on valuable materials for crafting, especially potions. Even if you haven't opened up the room yet, collect what you can along the way. You'll thank yourself later. And this doesn't change once you open things up. Even more reason to collect as you go, as you'll need potions throughout every step of your journey. Some of you won't find use for every potion. I personally didn't have any desire for a stealth playstyle, so I didn't end up wasting any materials on stealth potions. But because I love combat, I always made sure to stock up on Wiggenweld and focus potions, which kept my health topped off and reduced my spell cooldowns. If we focus on efficiency for a second, the main thing to do here is eventually purchase a 3-burner station. Potions take 90 seconds or less to brew start to finish, so having multiple burners and ultimately more workstations can make quick work to brew any number of potions that you may need. If you happen to have some extra galleons laying around, we highly recommend picking up the Hopping Pot spellcraft at Tomes and Scrolls in Hogsmeade. It's a hefty grab at 3,000 galleons, but will brew a random potion with no material investment every 12 minutes. If you're taking care of other things in the room or the world, this is more than enough time to brew a couple of potions, and who knows, you may get something you didn't have the materials for and get to try out for free. You can have a maximum of 3 of these in your room, and in just a short amount of time, it more than pays for itself in free potions. That being said, we'd advise you to save your galleons for a few other items we'll talk about here shortly, and come back to get the Hopping Pot a little later on. Alright, let's pivot and talk herbology. This is an area you can really set yourself up for long-term success early. If we look at the available plant types, we can see 3 different sized plants, small, medium, and large. Remember that single small pot station we started off with? Well, unfortunately, you can only plant a small potted plant, which is something like Dittany or Mallowsweet. If you want a combat plant, such as a Chinese chomping cabbage or venomous tentacula, you can forget about it as you'll need a medium or large pot to accommodate. This is where we say learn from our mistakes. Do yourself a favor and head over to Tomes and Scrolls and purchase a potting table with a large pot spellcraft for 1,000 galleons. Now that large potting station can accommodate any size potted plant. It can be just one station, but you can now grow a small, medium, or large plant, which gives you plenty of options and flexibility. But what good is a potting station without anything to plant? Well, lucky for you, Hogsmeade has just the place. Head down the road to Dogweed and Deathcap, and you can grab your combat plant seeds for between 600 and 1,050 galleons, depending on the plant. These seeds are a one-time purchase and unlock the plant to be potted at any point moving forward. You can technically stop here and grow what you need individually while you farm and progress your story. After all, you've spent a bunch of galleons and your coin pouch is probably screaming for a break. The single large potting station will get you started, but we want to advise you all on a couple other things we found helpful. While at Tomes and Scrolls, we'd also recommend purchasing a dung composter spellcraft for 1,000 galleons. This will generate a compost sack every 4 minutes, free of any material charge. You can then apply this to any plant and increase its yield by +1. This doesn't seem like a lot, but over time, this really adds up. And as you probably only have 1 or 2 potting stations early on, every bit helps to build up your arsenal of combat plants and base materials. Eventually, you'll want to look at the chopping station. These will reward you with a random plant material at no material cost to you. Just set these up and collect the random resource every 9 minutes. You can, again, grab this at Tomes and Scrolls, but it's not something we really found ourselves using often and ended up just as a room decoration. While we're talking about the Room of Requirement, we also need to talk about the materials used to build all of this. Everything in the room costs moonstones. These can be found scattered throughout the world to collect on your journey, but sometimes that's just not enough. To kickstart a good stockpile, you can actually use the existing decorations in the room to source your first good batch of moonstones. Simply use the Evanesco spell and select the item to remove it, and they'll be converted to moonstones. It's not a lot, but it gets you started. The second and more long-term solution to ensure you have enough moonstones all the time is to build up to 3 material refiners. This recipe can be purchased from, you guessed it, Tomes and Scrolls for 1,500 galleons, which isn't cheap by any means, but it ensures you almost never run out as it produces 10 moonstones every 10 minutes. If you get 3 of these going, it really adds up, and it's something we'd advise everyone to purchase as early as possible. Finally, you can farm some moonstones in the Vivariums themselves once they open up. These will restock every so often, so be sure to venture in and grab the nodes to add to your reserves. With all of that knowledge under our belts, our Room of Requirement is off to a great start, but that was a lot to prioritize. So let's summarize what we highly recommend, what's optional, and all the costs associated so you can plan accordingly. Our default potion station is good as is. We don't really need to make any early investments here. An optional purchase for later is a hopping pot, which will run you a premium at 3,000 galleons at Tomes and Scrolls, but again, not a purchase we'd advise early. Your first big investment should be a potting table with a large pot spellcraft for 1,000 galleons. Pick this up at Tomes and Scrolls in Hogsmeade. You'll then need seeds to plant. Combat seeds will cost you anywhere from 600 to 1,050 galleons, depending on which plant you want. You can grab these combat plant seeds at Dogweed and Deathcap in Hogsmeade. For other herbs and plants, you can expect these to cost 200 to 650 galleons, depending on the plant, and these can be purchased at the Magic Neep just down the road. Next, we want to ensure we have a constant supply of moonstones. For this, pick up the Material Refiner spellcraft at Tomes and Scrolls for 1,500 galleons. Since you can't technically farm moonstones in the wild, we'll say this is an optional purchase after the large potting station. Finally, an optional but helpful item will be a Dung Composter spellcraft, which you can purchase at Tomes and Scrolls for 1,000 galleons. Use this to boost your plant yield and take advantage of fewer potting stations to help build out your stockpile of combat plants and materials. As you progress through the story, the room will eventually expand and unlock the Vivarium, the beast care area. As you capture more beasts in the wild, the room opens up more Vivariums, but they all function exactly the same, just with a different look and aesthetic. We're not going to go into where to find each of these beasts, as the world map actually does a terrific job showing you exactly where they are, but now that you can really collect beasts, this opens up a really great gold farm, and we have a perfect guide for you on the channel. You can make a ton of galleons to reinvest into your room and buy pretty much whatever you want using this technique, including all of the things we just talked about. The Vivarium are fortunately a lot simpler in terms of optimization. There are no critical stations to purchase, no micromanaging individual crafting items, it's just managing a couple actions for each of your beasts, feeding and grooming. It's important not to neglect these actions, as they're the key to unlocking gear upgrades and applying traits. Like I said before, everything has a cost. The tasks here are simple: feed and groom beasts in your care, and they'll reward you with materials. Now, we will say some beast materials are more rare than others, and some are simply used more than others. For instance, the higher rarity gear items require different materials to upgrade at the loom and the Room of Requirement. An extraordinary or purple piece of gear requires mooncalf fur, Hooper feathers, and thestral hair as you work through the 3 upgrade tiers, whereas a legendary or orange piece of gear requires all of these plus phoenix feathers and unicorn hair, the latter 2 being more rare and thus important if you want to get your legendary gear upgraded to level 3. The phoenix is arguably the most important beast in the game. You'll get this as a quest from Deet to rescue, and this beast cannot be caught in the wild, so it's super critical to ensure you're gathering phoenix materials whenever you can. Fortunately, it'll give you 3 feathers per collection, so these can go a long way to helping upgrade 3 pieces of gear. Now, if you don't have a phoenix yet or need more than what's provided, there is a Hamlet shop located in Irondale that sells them, but you're going to pay a hefty fee, so we always recommend patience in farming these yourself, especially if you're short on coin. On the trait side, you'll want to make sure you have access to Puffskein fur for level 1 traits, Duricall feathers for level 2 traits, and Measle fur for level 3 traits, all very easy beasts to catch and care for. To make managing the activity of feeding beasts more convenient, you can purchase a feeding station from Tomes and Scrolls for 1,200 galleons. It's definitely a quality of life station to speed up the process, but don't feel like you need this. It's simply reducing the task required of each beast by 1. The other item you'll want to look at is the breeding station. You won't find much function for this outside of passively obtaining another beast of that same kind to gain more materials from, but you'll want this if you're hunting down challenges in the game, as one challenge will require you to breed all of the unique beasts and obtain them. If you are a challenge hunter, we actually have a great video already up on the channel highlighting all of the challenges and their rewards. That's really all there is to the Vivarium though. You can purchase a toy box to play fetch, but there is no functional gameplay benefit here, just pure enjoyment. We do want to call out the hidden chests and materials in these areas. If you thought you'd be escaping using Revelio here, well, guess again. Hunt around these areas to find some hidden chests to upgrade some of your Vivarium cosmetics, as well as a few extra materials scattered about. While there are plenty of ways to spend your time in galleons, we hope some of these tips help you save both time and money along the way. The Room of Requirement is a fun and enjoyable system, and I have to say the development team at Portkey Games did an outstanding job bringing it to life. Now, as always, if you appreciate videos like this that get straight to the point, save you time, and you want more content like this in your feeds, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and consider subscribing. Legacy Gaming has plenty more content planned, so stick around so you never miss a new video. I also want to invite you to join the Legacy Gaming community on Discord. We recently reworked our entire server, so if you're looking for a place to hang out, win free prizes, talk about great games like Hogwarts Legacy, and group up with friends, check out the link in the description below. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.